dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
The loot is not free.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, we're back. I'm doing great. It's almost March, which is on one end, 2025 already feels like it's been going on for a long time, but March is kind of crazy to wrap my head around already. But yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Feeling alive. I mean, honestly, last like 36 hours, there's been more insanity in the industry than the previous like 3 months. So
Oh, yeah. I mean, every week we have less studios than the week before. So,
yeah, when people talked about a consolidation of talent, I thought it meant like by studios buying others out. I didn't think it was just going to be that there were only 4 game studios in the world by the time all of this was done. But apparently
yep.
that's what they're doing now. Is they're just I like we'll talk about it more, but I just think that this is such a bizarre industry, and it's an industry where you can have totally incompetent people running the show
Yeah.
for a decade at a time, and then when they realize that they didn't know what they were doing, their bosses come in and just punish everybody, and it's just such a waste.
But it also feels like what we talked about last week with the amount of games that are coming out. And it also feels like every day I see a new, oh, we're launching in April, we're launching in May. And I'm like, there's no room. There's no room for everything. I don't know what it feels like. Everyone was like holding on to their game, and in 2025 they were let's release it. So on one hand, it feels like there are too many games, so it kind of makes sense that yeah, the industry has to adapt in a way that is sadly more healthy, which is not good, of course, for the industry and for the job market, but more a bigger group of people spend time in fewer games. And yeah, that's kind of the sad reality. Although the stories that we're gonna talk about here are mostly just bad management, because I do think if Monolith put out a good Wonder Woman game, there would be an audience for that. So
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we can segue just right into it instead of beating around the bush. I mean, the news, everybody's heard at this point. They're shutting down Monolith. They're shutting down a couple of other studios, like the Multiverses studio that they've owned for, I think, less than a year. But Warner Brothers is just clearing and cleaning house and dumping a lot of what we thought were talented, valuable studios, and they're just moving on from them. And as part of that, of course, they're canceling the Wonder Woman game. Now, my point of view on this is that all of the people that made Monolith what it was back in the Mordor War era, they have largely left. Like, the reporting from Jason Schreier is pretty clear cut that they were working on this narrative crazy game with like emergent stories and stuff that was canned in officially in like 2020, 2021. And then they greenlit this Wonder Woman game, and everybody, like all of the senior directors, I think Ken or Kevin Stevens, no relation to yours truly, but same last name, he left and brought a bunch of his directors with him. They went off and are working at EA on the upcoming Black Panther game that's been leaked recently, and people are talking about.
Cliffhanger games. I mean, it's not leaked. They announced it to hire people, but
I think it was like the choice of character selection was that leaked. Yeah,
you're right. Like the gameplay details leaked. Yeah. But it's like, should we believe it? It's
yeah,
grain of salt. But yeah,
but
you're right.
A lot of those people that like made Monolith what it was left when they started working on the Wonder Woman game, which, like, when the really accomplished, successful directors leave because they have so little interest or confidence in the project they're being forced to make, to me, it doesn't instill much confidence. To me, it makes me think, okay, they kind of know what, like, the ship might be sinking, or this might not be worth sticking around for, so they head out. And it's a similar thing to what happened with Redfall, where a bunch of Arcane Austin execs or not execs, directors and senior designers left right as Redfall kicked off. It happens all over the place. Rocksteady. And so
BioWare.
Exactly. There's a lot of instances of these types of things happening. And so maybe I'm not mourning the Wonder Woman game as much as others because I never really expected that to be particularly good. Especially because like the more we heard about it, the more reporting came out about it. You know, Jason Schreier's thing a few weeks ago where the original idea for the Nemesis system in that game was going to be like a friend-based system where instead of creating nemesis, you're creating friends that remember what you did with each other and stuff like that. And it just sounds like they lost direction. They were forced to do something they didn't really want to do, and the whole thing just started to nosedive as a result.
I mean, they had to do something, I think, with the Nemesis system to evolve it, and I do think, I do think a friend system could be cool. I think there was a survey, and I should look it up, but there was this like similar to how Hogwarts Legacy leaked. Remember that it was a video that was shown at a mall to people that were there. And something like that happened for Wonder Woman as well. They did a survey to tell people, hey, would you like a game like this? And there they also discussed the friend system for the Nemesis, or the friend angle for the Nemesis system. Look, I think that's cool. If that it could be that, you make friends and then you screw them over or something, and then they come to hunt you instead of them already being enemies before you when you encounter them. So
I mean, my understanding from the person I spoke to was, and this, I mean, I don't think they ever got to like a lockdown version of it, to be clear for everybody listening. Like they were describing how they were working on this and eventually they walked away from this idea. So none of this would have ended up in the actual game, it seems. But my understanding of what they were trying to do was basically that like you would be playing through a mission with a companion, kind of sidekick type character and NPC, and then they would learn from how you played. So if you were somebody that really loved doing like vaulted assassination type moves, they would gain abilities to complement your play style and help you out that way.
That sounds so awesome.
And it sounds like, okay, that doesn't sound terrible. It starts to, and then like you're trying to defend your friends because if they get killed, all of a sudden, maybe your entire like quote unquote build or play style was based around the complementary style of play with that NPC companion. And if they get killed, they're gone and you're done. They could do things where they like get captured and Diana has to go and save them. Otherwise they get executed and you lose access to them. There's all sorts of things that they could have done that don't sound, I mean,
it sounds amazing.
It sounds kitschy,
amazing.
campy.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Like it sounds kitschy, campy when you hear like, oh yeah, no more Nemesis. We're going to be friends. But when you hear it described, it's like, actually that could be cool. But they just couldn't really find a way to get it to click and really work long-term. And I think part of it is in the Middle Earth games, you can have like 5, 6, 7 orcs that are doing crazy stuff at the same time and are kind of affecting your story. Whereas what that friend system would turn into is probably you just maining one NPC that is like your main companion. And other than that, it's you're not really putting that much effort into others. So I don't know. I think it could have been cool. I think it's not the worst idea I've ever heard, but they apparently couldn't figure out how to get it where it needed to be. And so they were looking at doing more of a normal action or action adventure type game. And then it was canned. And what we know is it was rebooted in early 2024 and with a new game director and everything. And after working on that for a year, they just decided to walk away, which...
Yeah, what Jason said, early last year it was rebooted and switched directors. The game had already cost more than $100 million, said people who asked not to be identified. And it's still years away from release, if it ever makes it to market. Well, we know the answer, sadly, to that. But yeah, that already shows you. I mean, at one point, and how they got to that point seems like totally because of the leadership and the decisions they made, and not being able to get it off the ground, maybe because a lot of key people that worked on the Nemesis system in Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War went to this Cliffhanger game studio to work on Black Panther. That's probably why they were like, we cannot get this off the ground. But then at one point, the bean counters and everyone is looking at this. Okay, we are already 100 million deep in this game. We don't know if it will work out. So are we gonna spend another 100 million, 200 million on this to get it to market? Wonder Woman, like, it's a big franchise in a way, but the last movie bombed big time. People did not like that. I can totally see how they arrived at the decision to sadly cancel this.
Well, and it's like, I don't blame Warner Brothers for not having a lot of confidence in their video game division right now. They've had Hogwarts Legacy, which was a smash success, no doubt, but after that, they had Suicide Squad, Multiverses imploded, Hogwarts, Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, whatever it's called, has also been a bit of a mess and has not been performant at all.
Don't forget.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Yeah, Gotham Knights. Dude, you're one of probably 3 people on Earth that have the collector's
You know what?
edition.
I bought this collector's edition after release because
wow,
it was discounted, and people nobody wanted it. But I thought it was pretty cool.
Honestly, it's a pretty good sculpt. I think that's not bad at all. I like that. I also, behind me, I have the where is it? Which one? Where did I put it? Oh, it's up there in the corner. Oh, you can just barely see it. I have the Order 1886 collector's edition.
What?
Yeah, and it's a beautiful.
Oh, damn. Yeah, no.
Yeah, this one, it's just one of the most beautiful, like, sculpts of any collector's edition I've seen in a minute. It's just
cool.
Gorgeous. Yeah. But it's for a game that was widely known as a flop.
I think it took longer to unpack that and put it in your closet than to finish the game.
To finish the game, yep.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a beautiful statue.
No, but I like these statues. I also collect vinyl of like music, because on Spotify you're constantly I like to be reminded of things I would otherwise forget, and I think the Order is a perfect example of that, where your past that happened, and it's a pretty cool statue.
Yeah, exactly. It's important to be reminded of the mediocrity. No, but I mean, with all this, I think what I was saying is I don't blame Warner Brothers for being like, what are the actual odds that this makes money?
Yeah.
Because I don't think the odds were that high. And I mean, especially they had been talking a bajillion times over 2023 and 2024, how they wanted to utilize their IP. They wanted to take their biggest IP and turn them into live service and monetize them that way. And I don't have any sources directly saying this, but my conspiracy theory has been, since that Jason Schreier article saying that they rebooted this in early 2024, that they might have rebooted Wonder Woman into more of a live service focused game, because when they disclosed that they were not doing a live service was in an IGN like article. They responded to it with a spokesperson in November of 2023, and it was rebooted 2 months later, at least, with a new director taking it in a brand new direction. And I'm like, they were telling all their investors that their new direction for everything was going to be live service. They reboot this game they've been spending $100 million on. Wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, they probably saw the pre-orders for Suicide Squad and they were like, this is going to go well. Let's go.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but maybe that is it. And then because Suicide Squad, Multiverses, and the Quidditch game failed, they were like, okay, live service is not the way to go either.
Because like you said, they could spend another $100 million getting it to market.
Easily.
Market it like crazy, and it flops. Like that just doesn't make sense. And it's really important that these companies don't fall into the sunk cost fallacy, where it's like, we already spent $100 million, might as well spend another. That's how you get a Concorde that costs $400 million. You know, at some point, if it's not gonna work, and if you have reason to believe this is just not working, you got to cut the cord at some point, you know?
And yeah, we're now, let's see, 14 minutes in. That's like with fair game $sign as well.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that at one point you cut a run on that game, but
that's why
still going.
I have to think that they see something with that game that we don't see. And granted, we've not seen gameplay. Maybe the gameplay's amazing or something. I just don't know. But they see something that nobody else on the planet sees.
What are you gonna do this year, by the way? Because the game has been delayed. You're
yeah, man.
nothing to worry on.
I think, you know, I have faith in the Horizon game.
No.
Being very entertaining. No, I think we've got just so many freaking games this year. Look, there she is. There she is. Oh, Herman would be so proud of you. As Jor holds up a little Aloy. No, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna read the super chat as well. It's Rochi. Yeah, we always are a little late. Sorry.
Yes. I just choked on my own throat. Jesus Christ.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was weird. Anyway.
Aloy? That's crazy.
Yeah, Aloy took my breath away. No, but all of this to say, at some point, if the project is looking like it's just going to hemorrhage money and be a waste of time, at some point you've got to draw the line. And it seems like that's what they did here. They looked at the Wonder Woman game, something about it with it being rebooted. They were like, this is still 3 years away. It'll be 10 years between releases for Monolith. And the odds of it being successful and making its money back are very low. I mean, because that's the other thing. It's not just about, can it be profitable? Like, it probably couldn't be profitable. It's the same thing with Dragon Age Veilguard. I don't think there was a world in which that game was profitable after the years and years and years of development as a multiplayer game, then back to single player and all this. I think it was probably so expensive that it would have needed like 5-6 million copies. And even then, like, there's just no reasonable way I think they could have achieved that. And at some point,
they're getting the PS Plus money now.
Did you see that? Yeah. Very surprising.
Crazy.
This early.
4 months or 5 months after launch, it's already on. I think that's the fastest we've ever seen for a AAA game.
4 months from full price to
PS Plus. And it's not even like extra. It's like everyone who has PS Plus.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was
no. It's like, yeah, it's the
it's the base version.
It's the base tier, yeah.
Wow.
I know.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. But anyway, here we are. Monolith is being shut down. All these other studios are. I do want to quickly just mention, because I've gotten so many questions about it, we can just answer this quickly and easily, just so there's no confusion. People are asking, does this mean that the Nemesis system, which was patented by these guys, does that mean that now anybody can use the patent? No. Wrong answer. The patent, as can be seen right here, I pulled it up on screen for those watching. You can look it up as well through Google Patents. They even have it listed there. It is assigned to Warner Brothers Entertainment Incorporated. That means Warner Brothers owns the patent. And transparently, even if Monolith were the registered owners of the patent, Warner Brothers owns Monolith. And so they would just transfer the ownership of the patent up to Warner Brothers and still hold it. So they wouldn't just like, oops, we forgot about it. It's now in the open domain. But you can also see it is active, and it has an adjusted expiration date of August 11th, 2036. So
wow.
Nemesis system is locked down. People are joking that it now is in jail for the next decade, and they're not really that wrong, because it doesn't seem that any other Warner Brothers team is interested in using it or has been cleared to use it. And people asking, can they license it out? Yes, you can license out your patented IP and assets and things, but I don't think anybody on earth would bother with that. Like, why would you want Warner Brothers involved in your game, giving them 10%, 20% of your game? Like, any executive that's asked to pay for that is just going to say, no, come up with your own idea.
I would not be surprised if that Black Panther game has some sort of way to negate, like, dodge the patent, but still have some sort of Nemesis system in the game. That would be kind of cool.
They might. I just think, in the sphere of like Apple and Google, there's a thing that happens all the time. My dad has worked in like those tech companies before.
Mm.
And one of the problems is that they trade engineers constantly. So somebody that worked at Apple will go work at Google, then will go work at Meta, then goes back to working for Apple. And it just kind of cycles like that. And every time that happens, if any product, any software, anything is developed and has similar features to what Apple already did, there's a lawsuit. And then it could be a small lawsuit for Apple where it's like, oh, we want $10 million compensation. But they can prove that this person that used to work for us that would know information about that came over here and then they did something similar. Therefore, they're infringing on our patent because we own the patent. Even if this guy's the one that designed it, we still own it. And so then there's just lawsuits back and forth. And the problem for them is that Kevin Leslie Stevens is on the patent. And now he's heading up Cliffhanger Games. So it's not like he can say, oh, I'm not familiar with, I didn't know. Like everybody would know. So I think they'd have to walk on giga eggshells to make sure that they don't get in trouble there. But it's just across the board.
Maybe not worth it.
Yeah, it might not be worth it. But across the board, this whole thing is just a story of mismanagement and wasted potential. They had one of the most prolific and accomplished developers in the industry under their umbrella, and they managed to mismanage it so badly that they lost all the key talent, wasted 7 years, well over $100 million, and they have gotten literally nothing for it. It's stunning.
Crazy. Yep, and it will be a while because, I mean, they're keeping Rocksteady. But do you think this is the end of what they're doing? Because we didn't touch on that, but they also shut down Player First Games, the multiverse studio that they bought not even a year ago, which also crazy, and Warner Bros. San Diego. Do you think this is the end of it? Because what they have left is NetherRealm, of course, Rocksteady, Avalanche working on more Hogwarts, and TT Games from the Lego games. And Warner Bros. Montreal, the Gotham Knights team.
My understanding is TT has been gutted pretty much. So TT is like nowhere near the same studio it once was.
Oh, really?
Okay. That could be wrong, but that's at least what I recall reading. But beyond that, I think Warner Brothers is in this spot where they basically can't afford any risks, quote unquote, at all anymore. So for them, they're just looking at it, trying to be like, what can we realistically like lock in as a safe bet? What is a safe bet for us now? And I think it's like double down on Mortal Kombat, double down on Hogwarts Legacy, give them more time and more money to do what they need to do. And they're just going to try to find ways to go with safe is a weird term, but I think for them it really is just a matter of trying to pick what is the safest bet, because I just don't think they can afford to risk it anymore. They've lost so much money on stuff that has gone absolutely nowhere that didn't need to be wasted like this. It's just it can't work like that long term. So
but they already made kind of the, I think, wrong decision to go with Mortal Kombat 1 instead of a new Injustice, because Mortal Kombat 1, I remember they were like, oh, it sold 3 million, but I remember that series being way bigger than that. I'm going to look up the sales numbers, but I think 11, the one before that, sold way more than Mortal Kombat 1. So
yeah,
I don't think going for another one of those, because one was already a reboot. I think they did meet with James Gunn. I'm not so sure if you saw that. So James Gunn went there. And I think that's going to be another issue. And that's sort of the leak we heard in regards to Hogwarts Legacy 2 as well, that they want to tie that in somehow with the TV show that is coming, which is basically the books again.
How the hell does that make any sense? It's the show is allegedly going through the books. Hogwarts Legacy does not take place at the same time as the books.
I mean, they can make a jump again, but that would not be exciting if you if you were playing Harry Potter.
Well, it makes me wonder if they are going to do something where like, oh, this one is set during the time period of Harry Potter, but you're just another student there. But even that feels weird, because it's like, so we're going like my story is going to just be being the support character in someone else's main story. Like, what is this, Fallout 3? What are we doing? So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, but
Yeah.
I just
But
have
I
no
think
confidence in them. Like,
no. I totally get that, and I also think that we are seeing that as well with Warner Bros. Montreal. For people who don't know, so after Gotham Knights, they wanted to make a 1.5 version because that game also, and I'm not sure if you ever said it, but I would not be surprised if you did, that also started as like a live service game that they then spinned into a co-op game. And you especially saw that looking at the menus and the weird gear grind that game also had. So they wanted to do a 1.5 version for Gotham Knights, but then Warner was like, no, we're not gonna do that. So then they wanted to do a game based on John Constantine, who was played by Keanu Reeves in a 2005 feature film.
which would have been
But
awesome.
but then Warner was like, but nobody knows that character. Let's do a more familiar character. Why don't you go with Joker or the Flash? So they went with the Flash, but then Warner released the movie that of course bombed. So they were like, okay, let's not do a game on the Flash. And it's so crazy that they made Batman Arkham Asylum, which really showed that, whoa, okay, if you make a superhero game in its own universe and that's not tied to any of the movies, that works, because then the game makers can just focus on creating a great game and don't have to worry about deadlines or things that they cannot control. And they're kind of going back to that. And on one hand, I do think I get where that is coming from. That is, of course, from the Fallout TV show, the Last of Us TV show, all those TV shows doing very well, Cyberpunk, Arcane, and then lifting the game up as well. They want that too, but I don't think they realize that it doesn't have to tie in directly. Yeah. I do think the Harry Potter TV show and then having a Hogwarts Legacy 2 that is in a completely different time period will still help. So, but they are like, no, you have to know the character from the TV show have to show up in the game, and that's not really a thing. And that makes me very worried that they're saying the wrong things while they should really kind of nail it right now.
I think it's all holdovers of like that Marvel era, where everything was about the crossovers and, oh, it's this character from this movie and I saw that character in this Marvel TV show, and so now we do the crossover here and the upside down crossover there. And I think that some of these executives just are lacking any and all creative thought, and so they're like, well, we just do that. So we do Harry Potter in the game, and then it's also in the show, and then it's also in the theme park, and then it's also in the theatrical re-release that we do, and then we're going to do Batman, and there's no original IP. We're not starting anything new. You have to use one of our established things. And it's put them in such a tough spot unnecessarily, because they had a pitch for another game from Monolith back in 2017-18 that they wanted to do that went nowhere, allegedly because Haddad just didn't want to do anything. He just wouldn't conclusively say yes or no. There's reports that he would not respond to messages. Him and his office wouldn't respond to inquiries for weeks on end. Imagine trying to contact your boss while you're trying to get approval to do something and he doesn't respond for weeks. No wonder the game went nowhere and was in development hell and all the directors got fed up. No wonder. So I think it's just going to continue to be the same thing over and over again. The tail of the tape when it comes to a lot of these big corporations and media is that if the management is bad, it won't magically get better. They'll keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again until new management comes in. That's just how it is. Whether it's Ubisoft or Warner Brothers or EA, they'll keep doing the same thing over and over again. They'll make the mistake. They'll get called out. They'll go, ooh, sorry, we've learned this time. And then give it a few years, they'll do the same thing again.
They don't get the ramifications of that. They stay in their position. They don't really lose their job or something like that. So then you don't, I think, really learn either, which is the sad reality.
Yeah. Well, and it's ultimately somebody like Haddad gets to retire. He leaves. I don't know if he officially retired. Exactly. He just like left. He left. He keeps his stock options, and now all these people are losing their jobs. Thousands of people are losing their jobs. Well, I don't know in Warner Brothers case, maybe hundreds, but he's totally fine. But the people that were responsible for the screw up are, right as rain. And I think that's what's really, really tragic about the whole thing.
100%.
But
100%. I kind of already wrote them off. Like Shadow of War was 2000 or 2017. So not having a game from them and them now being gone, they were not really in the conversation anymore. So but it's still like looking at Shadow of War, I love that game, and they even did that game dirty with the loot boxes and all that sort of stuff that they implemented into, while they had a game of the year with Shadow of Mordor. So they were always doing kind of shady things with their properties, but this is like next level where they just can't get a game out the door. And on one end, I'm like, okay, Hogwarts Legacy, I'm happy that exists, because maybe without Hogwarts Legacy, they would be getting out of games altogether. Maybe they would be like, hey, let's just close all these studios.
I mean, if you look at everything other than Hogwarts Legacy, I mean, what was their last hit before Hogwarts Legacy?
I think the Lego Star Wars game did pretty well.
Yeah, Skywalker Saga, but that's also licensed.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know, man. It's just
I think a Mortal Kombat, probably Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, I probably did well. But I think
15 million units.
Oh baby, yeah, dude.
And one.
Mortal Kombat's crazy big.
Over 5. Yeah, it's like it's not the same.
Yeah. Somebody in chat says a Flash game would have been ass. I mean, frankly, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but after the whole Ezra Miller thing with the movie, they had a layup opportunity to just do a simple beat 'em up game. I think it would have been super easy.
I think they were going to look at Evolve and just you are the Flash and then other players are the Suicide Squad, and you have like this one.
Yeah, that could have also worked. Honestly, I don't know why they wouldn't do like they could do like a crazy artsy Joker game. I mean, there's just a lot of things they could have done, but ultimately, like, the studio can throw out 1,500 awesome ideas, but the way that this system works is that there's usually one guy at the end of the day that gives the thumbs up and green lights the spending. And, in some cases, it might be a Sean Layden type character. It might be a Phil Spencer type character. Sometimes they pass that off to other people who maybe know the games better. There was, I think it was insinuated in the Raising Kratos documentary that like Shuhei Yoshida was very much that person during that era of the PS4 generation on PlayStation side. But if the person giving the green light has no freaking idea what they're doing, or just as bad, if not worse, they also just refuse to make any decisions at all. It doesn't matter how many great ideas you have. As we've seen, you can have the Nemesis system at your disposal, and because he doesn't want to make a decision, because he doesn't want to greenlight something since it doesn't feature a big IP and well-known character, you just waste years and years and money out, like hundreds of millions of dollars, for no reason at all. Problem is they're not gamers. I mean, yeah, it's the classic problem of having somebody that doesn't involve themselves in the medium leading teams of people making stuff in that medium. It just doesn't make sense. If I don't watch American football, you shouldn't make me the commissioner of the NFL. If I don't if I've never produced music, why would you put me in charge of a record label? It doesn't make any sense at all. But that's how a lot of these video game companies work, is they bring in people who have no idea what they're doing to run it, and then they're surprised when things don't work.
Yeah, because the people that hire those people don't know anything themselves either. So
well, I think so often it's just, you were successful in TV. This is also entertainment, so you should figure it
Yeah.
out. Or it's like
Yeah.
they also think, what was that one company? They hired like a former CEO from a toy company. It was like Hasbro or something. And they hired an executive from Hasbro to run their gaming division. Because you can tell in the executive suite, the 80-year-old CEO was like, well, video games are just games. So we'll bring in the guy that makes Battleship and he'll lead the game division. And it's the stupidest thing you've ever heard, but that's just because they have no idea what they're talking about.
Yep. Very sad that, we're now at this, but it felt bound to happen, sadly, in Warner Brothers' case. I'm curious if the other studios. I can see Warner Brothers Montreal kind of go down as well.
I think
They're seemingly
Montreal
doing a Game of Thrones game.
Yeah, well, I think they also have been used for years and years and years as a support studio, and
Wonder Woman game.
yeah, on the Wonder Woman game, also on the Hogwarts Legacy director's cut, and then the sequel. I think they're going to be helping with that. So I think that they've just everything for Warner Brothers right now is how do we make massive bets on huge games, but in IP, we feel confident enough that they'll turn a profit. And I think that's what they're doing. They're done with these like $20 bets, $50 bets on these things that might turn a profit, might not. And now they just want to put it all on black. And that's what they're going to do with Hogwarts Legacy. That's what they're going to do with the next Mortal Kombat. And they're going to shut down any studio that's not directly fulfilling that goal. Yeah. And that's just how they're doing it.
I see Eagle say Netmarble's doing the Game of Thrones game. Yeah, that's a mobile PC game, but it seems like Warner Brothers Montreal, at least that was the reporting from Jason Schreier, that they are pitching to work on a Game of Thrones game, because that is what Warner seems to be focused on: Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, DC, and Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. We'll see if that ever sees the light of day, because as we've seen, you can get games announced, trailers dropping and everything, and it still doesn't mean that you ever will see the game. It's just unfortunate, but that's how it is. Speaking of not seeing the game anytime soon, we're going to talk about Fable right after we thank our super chat people. Mark Fleming, thank you for the 5. Did y'all see that Dragon Age Veilguard is coming to PS Plus for March? We sure did, and that is hilarious. 4 months. 4 months. Or longer than 4 months? How long has it been? When did that game officially launch? Was it might have been September.
October.
Sorry, it was October. Okay.
So November, December, January. Yeah, 4 months.
Yeah. Ooh, baby. Not great. Folly, thank you for the 5. Ask for Jor. Do you think AC Shadow uploads in your channel will get same views as Valhalla videos like those Prime days? And I want more strip club stories. I'll let you answer the first part first.
Did we ever do strip club stories?
I don't think so.
No.
Now I'm like, was I drunk on a show once? Do I not remember?
Did we like record out of a bar at one point?
Yeah.
No, but I don't think so. Valhalla was COVID, a lot of hype. People came from Odyssey. I do think the Shadow uploads will still do well, and I think you're mostly talking about the tips and stuff. But what happens a lot with the Assassin's Creed games is that they get played a lot over time. So even if they don't do a lot during launch, and I still think they will, because Odyssey, it seems to be tracking the same as the Odyssey launch period, and those videos did very well. So I think it will be more similar to Odyssey instead of Valhalla, because Valhalla was kind of a unique situation.
Yeah,
that was when Ubisoft stock was still at like €80, and now it's like at 11. To give you an example of how times have changed.
Yeah, it was like the perfect game for that period in time. Like any other period of time, people have been like, but it was perfect for the time it launched.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, and then Tyler, thank you for the 5. Are we going to get a Nemesis system public domain games in 2036? Mickey Mouse versus Pooh Bear Shadow 4. Dude,
that's
please. Funny. Yeah, I do think the second 2036 hits, or I guess August, probably September.
Will they
2036.
not just extend it?
Yeah, I think you'll start to see a lot, because it's such an amazing system that's just been wasted for by that point, 20 years, it will have just been sitting on ice, which is crazy to think about. But by the time 2036 rolls around, it will have been 19 years likely since the last iteration of the Nemesis system, because they're probably not doing anything else with it. So if that doesn't make you
unless
sad,
Rocksteady is like, yo, new Batman game, Nemesis system. I do think that would be cool in a game like that. So
oh yeah, the
we'll
original pitch for the Nemesis system was to put it into a Batman game. So if they're going to find a way to use it either in a Batman game or in that Game of Thrones game, that could be really cool too. We just don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, or Hogwarts Legacy 2, you got your Slytherins fighting your Gryffindors.
Yeah. And every time you kill one of the students, they come back and remember.
Yeah, they come back to hunt you as Dementors.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. Sumaya, thank you for that one. I can finally sail the internet high seas now that I'm done with peak Pirate Yakuza. Yeah. We were actually running a little late today because Jor was playing Pirate Yakuza. So...
Yeah, I was still in the naval battle arena, and I had my unicorn laser on my ship, and I was burning down the pirates.
The pirates. Yakuza. Well done. And that's how you do it, everybody. Let me double check over here. Okay. Bada bing, bada boom. Fable. Let me ask you, Jor. Let me ask you. What do you think, based on what you've seen, of the new Fable? What's your take?
It's gonna look insane. That's why I think it's gonna be. I really want to believe because this has been in that launch. This has been the reason why I bought an Xbox Series X, Fable, because I think the promise is there. But yeah, it's a new it's of course the Forza Horizon team doing it. But they've been working on it for such a long time. I think the new gameplay they showed, which was kind of cool that they showed that. Yeah, looked awesome. Again, I think the game looks stunning. It's just I'm afraid that the combat will lack depth. What we've still seen is your very typical parry, dodge, and a fireball you can throw. And I'm like, okay. So I want to believe, but I think it will really. What are the choices and impact? Like, how is that gonna work? Does the humor hit? I am still not convinced looking at the trailers if that will be the case. But I do think riding around on that horse, what they've shown, and just the world, I do think it will be really cool to explore. But I just hope that it has the depth that I kind of want in an RPG like that.
Yeah, I think largely I'm tracking similarly to you. I think with a lot of this, the question is, where does the flashiness in the show stop and where does like the gameplay depth come in? Because a great looking game does not a great game make. We just earlier in the show brought up the Order 1886. Beautiful game. Lacking almost any and all depth. Yeah, it's just there are certain things that I think are important to remember, and that is that you can have an amazingly impressive game graphically. It does not mean that the game will therefore translate into a fun game to play long term, especially like when it comes to something with open world adventure and exploration. You can have a beautiful world, but if the environments are really, really narrow, if they don't have a lot of interesting little nooks and crannies and things, it's going to get old pretty quickly. I mean, even this like street scene that I can pull up on screen here, for those of you watching, it's just the player character walking through a street, and it looks stunning just visually. But you do have to remember this is a video game. It's not just about that. One of the big complaints with Avowed, for example, was that the NPCs didn't really do anything. They didn't really go anywhere. That's something you have to factor in. And whenever you see one of these trailers, when there's lots of quick cuts and stuff between individual shots, as we saw with this pre-alpha gameplay they just dropped yesterday, you just have to remember video games are not absorbed and consumed this way. This is, each shot is less than probably a second long. And
Yeah.
that's not how people play video games. It's about the extended periods. It's about what you're doing. And obviously this gameplay footage is not meant to sell the game to somebody. It's meant to give you a taste and show the progress and what they're doing. But I think it's just important to remember that it's not just about form, it's about substance. And no doubt they've got form down graphically and artistically. The game is insane. Nothing
insane.
looks quite like this on the market right now, but it takes a lot more than this to just make a great game. So it's going to come down, I think, probably in large part to the writing and presentation. And that is one aspect that has killed many games in recent memory, no doubt. So I'm hesitant to now
especially the AAA your AAA studios have they want to please everyone and end up pleasing no one.
Yeah, and I think with just so many of these types of games, there's some like red herring scandals or discussions that I'm just not particularly compelled to get into. People have been saying that the game is worth boycotting because the protagonist that they've shown so far is funny looking or is ugly or whatever term they want to use. And transparently, I think if you're not going to play a game because you think the protagonist isn't good looking enough, I think that's a bad reason to not play a game. The game may suck, but if you're not playing it because the character, like that's, in my view, kind of a silly reason not to play.
Do you
a
know
game.
what's funny looking?
Aloy? Certainly in... Oh. You can just take off her face? Dude.
Yeah, you can put on different faces.
Oh. Well, there you go.
With face paint and stuff, yeah.
Here's Jor again playing with dolls during the podcast. No, I think like it's the same thing that we brought up with like Starfield or Suicide Squad. You know, people tried to bring up this or that reason to be outraged over it, but I was like, at the end of the day, Suicide Squad failed because it was just a garbage game. Like it was just a bad game. And yeah, some of this other stuff factored into it, sure. But ultimately, like at its core, it was just a bad game. And if a bad game is out there, it's not going to sell. And with Fable, like if it's a really good game, even if the main character is a little fugly, it doesn't really matter. People will still play it, you know? If the game sucks ass, it's not going to help, definitely. And there's been examples of games that are not that great that people still buy because they like the big bazingas or whatever on the player character. But I just think that that's an example of like a quote unquote scandal within the game that's not really worth freaking out about, especially when there's other things that I think you've brought up that are much more legitimate. Looking at the gameplay footage they dropped, movement does look a little stiff and very simple based on what we're seeing, like a quick shuffle backwards. You can tell with this move when she does the double step back, this is like a double tap of B to do the quick pivot backwards. Light attack, heavy attack. Looks pretty standard. And if you're expected to do that for 30, 40 hours, I could see that getting really, really old, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think those are the things.
At least, I mean,
we do have
maybe
Fireball.
it's like we do have the Fireball.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I think is much more valid to bring up, I think.
Yeah, and I think the concern, and that has been the thing with this game so far. Every trailer is, oh, we should not show too much because let's move on to the next bit. And the other trailers have been like that too, which is so... Or actually the only other one that actually showed gameplay, the other one was just a frog, of course, eating the elf. But that is concerning. Usually they're hiding then something because maybe they're afraid that if they show 5 seconds or 10, you really see that, ooh, there's no substance here. But I don't know. I think it's good that they're delaying it. It felt, I always thought 2025 was really, really, it never felt right. Especially because Xbox has a ton of other games already. They don't need it this year. It was probably going to launch around GTA. They can way better if they still have a game this year at the end of the year. Launch a Gears of War. I do think that will do well.
Well, and isn't Outer Worlds 2 also expected this year?
Yeah, but it's Outer Worlds 2. I mean, that's not the same cool level, of course, right? In terms of...
Yeah,
I would say Yeah, the game is probably gonna be great, but I mean on the dollar signs.
Yeah, the fair game dollar signs.
The fair game dollar signs. I mean, if Sony is gonna launch Horizon Online at the end of the year, Xbox needs to counter it somehow, you know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just the whole lineup makes sense. I think the other thing I mentioned on the stream earlier, if this game really was looking like, if we get it out this year, it's going to be November. Like, do you really want to go right next to GTA 6 and Call of Duty? Like, I don't think anybody wants to do that. Like,
no, exactly.
But,
so they don't need it. They have Call of Duty as well. Flight Simulator.
Well, and the other piece,
another one.
People were pointing out, oh, they only said it's delayed to 2026. They refused to even say early 2026.
Oh.
And here's the thing. What I think that's insurance against a GTA 6 delay. I think if they said early 2026, they kind of are pinpointing January through March. And if GTA 6 gets delayed to February or something, they don't want to be close to it. So they just like, yeah, we'll leave it open. And if we drop in February or March, we can do an Xbox release date announcement on the Game Awards or something. But if we need extra time because GTA 6 is coming, we just release in April or May.
For sure. I already can't wait for the week where GTA probably gets delayed as well, right? And then a few days later, all the other games are like, oh, we're in October, we're in November. Oh, and by the way, and all these games are
whenever it happens, like the date becomes clear. There's going to be so many just like sudden announcements out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because there's even like, there are some like surprises that some companies are sitting on the sidelines that they hope to just kind of drop. But nobody wants to be close to GTA 6. So yeah, once that happens, I think there's just going to be a flood. Yeah,
it's gonna be funny, but they are gonna wait till the final moment. By the way, to kind of segue to, I think, what has always been an interesting conversation we have here on the podcast. Of course, Assassin's Creed Shadows got leaked. Somehow physical copies got in the hands of someone on the marketplace, and they were selling it, and people got their hands on them. And I saw some of the videos. It's totally legit. Luckily, there have not been a lot of spoilers yet, because it does seem... Also, Stevens, by the way, got an early copy. Dan Stevens.
Oh, yeah.
Your family has been making
They've
the
been
rounds
busy,
here,
man.
They've been busy. No, but... yeah, so that made me think, okay, if Shadows... Because maybe it got stolen, maybe... We don't know how these copies got in the hands of these sellers. But if that happens with Shadows, sure, Assassin's Creed is big. It's not near the level of GTA. Imagine, like, warehouses being robbed around this time. Yeah, because at one point they have to make sure that they got the physical copies if they want to have them on launch day. So it, once again, really makes your prediction of them going for an early access digital-only launch only the more and more likely option. Yeah. And it might just be a week or... I mean, but what the reaction to that would be wild, I think. But I think that's the only way they can stop the leaks, because even if they have a week early access, Shadows got leaked 4 weeks almost before launch. Mm. If that happens with GTA, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's no way that they possibly do like an early physical launch, because even when if people forget, but during the launch of the PS5, there were stories of people having like delivery trucks broken into, FedEx warehouses being broken into so people could steal the PlayStation 5s ahead of the launch, even after it launched, just because they were so valuable. It's gonna be like ridiculous. So I think for them, they're like, just do a full... they might do like full on digital only, especially after the AC Shadows thing, just digital only for the first like 6 months or something. And they bring physical editions out later. Like, and they could get away with it. I can
see that happen. Yeah,
like, why risk
I think so too. Because then you have that timer, everyone plays at the same time. And unless like someone hacks the PlayStation Network, nothing can go wrong.
Yeah. People forget, like, the general agreement is that the big corporations that are partnered with these companies are going to also play by the same rules. But even like the GTA 6 trailer, the reason they had to drop it kind of suddenly and early was because an employee at Google was trying to leak the trailer early.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when employees at Google are leaking YouTube videos that are on Rockstar's corporate private account, you're dealing with another level that we've rarely seen, if ever, before.
Exactly.
And I think that especially with Shadows is nowhere near that level of hype. Maybe discussion and discourse, but for, you know, more scandalous reasons perhaps, but it's nowhere near as crazy as GTA 6 will be. So
unless they do, and that would also, I think they cannot win. Like the announcement they're gonna make will not be it will be bad news for some sort of audience, but they could also be saying, okay, yeah, you need to be online to play the single player, because that would work as well. But that's also, I would prefer them to just do the digital launch and then you can still play offline. But yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know. They can, and even like you said, the reaction will be crazy. I'm also not totally sure if it would be. I think there'd be some people freaking out over it, but the swell of content that will be flooding out during that period of just, here's 10 details you missed in the GTA 6 trailer, and like,
oh yeah,
it's,
of course,
it's going to be crazy. So I think even if they do something like that that's broadly considered to be anti-consumer, it's just going to get drowned out. And yeah, some people will throw fits over it and bring it up in videos and talk about it, but I think it's going to get washed out so quickly. And it's like everybody's going to be raging, yeah, this is ridiculous, they shouldn't do that, digital only is stupid, and they're still going to buy it. And
but there will be a reaction, and I think some people will be like, oh, I want the launch that we all, because if there's gonna be a game where people would stand outside and wait, it would be GTA. Although those days have kind of gone, but that would be cool to bring back. But that's just not gonna be realistic with the game like this. But yeah, it's gonna be fascinating. Although I do think it will likely be a 2026 story. Let's do some more super chats.
Yeah, let's catch up on the super chats. Let's see real quick. Mr. Steel Yo Kill brought this up during our Fable discussion. Thank you for that $2 super chat. KCD2 is a great example of looking great and having depth. I agree all day, every day. Jesus Christ be praised.
And only costing 60 million, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
A well-managed game with reasonable scope in a non-crazy expensive part of the world. Turns out you can make a profit on day one. Limit Breaks, thank you for that 5. I hope they are delaying fair game $ so they can add the Best Buy heist where you have to burrow into the wall and get copies of new games. Love you guys. TC. That's a reference to a story I told on stream on Monday, because when I worked at Best Buy, some, I'm guessing, drug addicts tried to dig into the cinder block wall and break into the warehouse, but they broke into the warehouse right where the pillar of the big steel shelves were, so they couldn't actually steal anything large. And they wanted to break in and steal iPhones, apparently was their primary target, but iPhones are all IMEI locked and stuff, so like you literally could not pick a worse thing to steal out of a store. But they don't catch the smart ones, I'll tell you what. And then Nerdy Giant, thank you for the 5. So we are almost, this is a good question, we are almost done with Q1 in the gaming industry. It's easy to say that KCD2 was the strongest release of the quarter. What do you guys think will be the next big game for Q2? So from March, we'll say like March through May. What do you think is the most surprising, or maybe just the biggest release of this upcoming quarter? Oh, you think you're frozen? Oh yeah, he is. I thought he was just sitting still. Oh no, Jor. There he is.
I'm back. Okay. I was like listening to the question on stream. So
you're sitting so quizzically pondering.
Yeah. So the biggest release of the early parts.
Yeah, of Q1. You're also still, for some reason, Discord's frozen for me, but I think we can still hear you. Go ahead.
I think it's coming out this week. Monster Hunter Wilds.
Ooh, safe bet. Yeah, let's because that's kind of like the safest bet, because it's going to be huge. What do you think besides? Let's go March 1st. From March 1st on, what do you think is like the biggest game? Oh no, Discord might have fully died. I think it did. Okay, let me hard shut down Discord and I'll reopen it and get Jor in here. In the meantime, I will answer real quick. I think Doom, if we're counting Doom in May, that I think could be a surprise in terms of just how big, because everybody's expecting it to be big, but I think it has the potential to be huge. Split Fiction, I'm interested in seeing how that's received, because of course It Takes Two primarily spread through word of mouth, and that ended up being a huge benefit to the game that way. Yeah, Discord is crapping out on me right now. I can't open. It's just a big gray box. Like, see, it's just gray. That's weird. Let me try shutting down the app fully through Task Manager. So I think that Split Fiction could end up being a big hit. It's just going to be interesting to see if it's a big hit immediately or if it takes like 6, 7, 8 months. Because It Takes Two started big or started like decent, but it mainly blew up over the course of a handful of months once word of mouth started passing and the nomination for Game of the Year and all the other stuff kind of came tumbling in. Oh, weird. This is weird. Discord's crapping out on me. And then I go into Task Manager to shut it down. And it says this task operation cannot be interrupted is what it says. That's weird. Interesting. We're working on getting you back, Jor. Don't you worry. We're getting there. I think with so much of this though, we also have, what are the other games? We have the Midnight game, Expedition 33. I think that could end up being a big surprise to a lot of people just in how big it is. But I also kind of expect that game to be like 6, 7, 8 hours long. Like, I'm braced for it to be really short. I hope it's not. I hope it's big and there's a lot to it because it looks really, really cool. But whenever I think something looks amazing and it sounds too good to be true, usually is. And it's usually just like shorter and much more contained than you'd expect. Atomfall. Yeah, Atomfall could be big. There's also like, this is the big wild card in the industry right now, and that is Nintendo is launching a new console probably in May, and almost certainly has a launch title during that same period, whether that's just Mario Kart, probably something else as well, but whatever it is, like, they almost certainly will have other stuff. And so I'm just like, there's probably a Game of the Year contender or two that we still have not heard about that like has not even officially been announced, which is crazy to think of, but that's just where we are in 2025. 2025 is insane for releases. I'm trying to connect to Jor once more, but Discord is having a field day. I have never seen it this sluggish. My goodness. Okay. I can hear him again. We'll see if I can get his camera working again. Sorry for the technical issues, everybody. We've been going on a good run of not having many issues, and so I guess we were overdue. But I think we're back. What is your answer to the question of which I've been rambling and stalling?
I heard you talk about the 2025 games, right?
Yes.
Ghost of Yotei.
Oh, duh. Yeah, one. That's a good game. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. No, but I think you mentioned Doom. I think right now we can already pick the 6 nominees for Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
You want to try?
6? I mean, if we're assuming release dates hold steady, let's say, so GTA 6... I think, obviously. KCD 2, Monster Hunter, that's 3. Split
Fiction.
Fiction, because they're of course coming back.
It Takes Two was like game of the year when it
Yeah.
came out.
Um,
Again, I think Doom has a shot at it.
okay.
I don't know. I have this weird feeling about Doom in terms of what they are. I think they're making all the right choices for this. Yeah, for this like prequel, basically going a bit more open world. Yeah, really making it more grounded again. Even though it is a Doom game, it will feel completely different to play. I really think if they nail the exploration aspect and kind of get at some of that Elden Ring surprise and constantly figuring out, whoa, there's like another new zone, there's a dungeon here. I think that could really work for them. But yeah, you already mentioned the Switch too. We should leave some spots for 3D Mario or something.
That's what's so crazy is that there's like Nintendo doesn't tend to put like their light hitters at launch. They at least have one heavy hitter that they think is going to move consoles. So whether that's Mario Kart, 9 or whatever it is, they probably also have something for the winter or fall. And so it's insane to think that by the time we're in December, there could be at least 2 other massive games we haven't even thought of yet. It's just insane. But that's 2025, baby.
Yeah, Kingdom in Sky says, lol, it's impossible for Xbox to have a Game of the Year contender. I'm still like, it's Bethesda. I know this game was already in development, I think, when they bought them. But sure, you can count it as an Xbox game. But I do think it would make sense. I think Kingdom Come is not going to get nominated.
You don't think Kingdom Come Deliverance gets nominated?
No, because I really think that game will, because by the end of the year, there will have been so many great releases. I do think it is a bit more niche than some of the other big hitters that will launch. Like if Nintendo already takes 2 spots, and you have a Ghost of Yotei launch as well, GTA.
I mean,
I really don't think there's room. Yeah, I do think it will be one of those. Everyone will be like, "What the heck? It should be. It should be. It should be." But I really think that looking at the people that usually choose these games, I don't think it will be nominated.
See, I think if Nintendo gets 2 nominations for Game of the Year, I will riot. Because we all know it's going to be like a new Mario Kart that's like a little bit better than the last one. Still awesome, but it's like, does this really deserve it? Okay. But I mean, I'd be very surprised if they don't nominate KCD 2. Maybe they don't, but I would be surprised. As for like Ghost of Yotei, I think it's going to be good. I'm also guessing that's probably one of those like 88, 89s out of 100. And then as for some of these other games, Doom I could see getting nominated, but I just think that would be more surprising. Monster Hunter, I do think, I think if something's going to slip out of that like candidate list, I think it's probably Monster Hunter, frankly, just because I think Monster Hunter, unfortunately, I'm saying this as somebody that's played it and that really likes it, Monster Hunter runs like hot donkey ass, and I think that has affected its review scores enough that it's something to at least think about.
And the difficulty aspect is hurting it a bit too. But that, I do think that is a game that people will play maybe for the full year, so it's super hard. But like, people are saying, yours no taste, what the heck is he smoking? I'm not saying Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a bad game.
Yeah, he's not saying it shouldn't be nominated. He just thinks it won't.
Yeah, I'm saying I think it should be, because it is really doing something amazing for the open world genre and for RPGs, and yeah, it's pushing the genre forward for sure. I'm just saying that it's now at 2 million copies, which is great for a game like that. But if you compare it to, like, usually if you look at the Game of the Year nominees, it is those games that most people play, because how those games get nominated is there will be a lot of websites mostly. They get to cast their vote. So the games that most people played will have more votes. So I think just more people skipped on a Kingdom Come than a Ghost of Yotei, for example.
And the other thing to remember too and it's unfortunate that this is a consideration, but there's also been a bizarre like tirade against KCD from some of these games journalists, whether it's Eurogamer or even some weird stuff said by like IGN, where kind of like Black Myth last year, where they just have some hard on for hating it. And I think that that's a factor, unfortunately, to consider as well, because it's not people like you and me that are getting to pick the nominees. It's a board of like industry insider journalists and stuff, and that's who's deciding it. It's the Greg Millers of the industry that are picking it, and so you shouldn't be surprised when the lineup looks eerily similar to that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but I do think it will be I mean, this year will be crazy, but it will be the top. Oh, it's snubbed. Like it will be, people will be angry.
It'll be the robbed award.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. I mean, just to be totally fair to Jor's point here too, it's really tough to launch in like early in the year, and unless you're an Elden Ring, to still be at the top of mind for people at the end of the year. It's just really common. Like people are even saying like Indiana Jones technically is supposed to qualify for this next year or this year's Game of the Year awards. Does anybody think that game is getting a nomination? Probably not. Like I think
it did get some awards from award shows that do take the full year. So it was like at the DICE Awards, I think it got some. But so I do think it will get some nominations, but people will have forgotten about it.
Yeah. New Mafia could be nominated.
Yeah, No Man's Sky, we will see.
Yeah.
I like you, but this is stupid take. Well, that's where I'm for. I'm here for the stupid takes.
Yeah, that's how they do it in Australia. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, the New Mafia could be nominated.
No.
I hope and pray that it's that good, because God, I love Mafia so much. When Mafia is good, Mafia is preem, but it's like Mafia 3 was rough, and then Mafia Definitive Edition kind of re-inspired me and gave me a lot more hope and confidence in them. I was like, ooh, they still got it. Okay. So I'm optimistic, but we'll see.
And what if Silk Song launches this year?
Then pigs will also be flying, and I think we'll have bigger fish to fry.
So again, it's gonna be insane. It's gonna be insane, and I really think that some games will totally get robbed of
it's going to be such a crazy packed year that without a doubt there will be games that do not get nominated that everybody's like, really? So it's going to happen, no doubt. I agree. To continue catching up, Andy, biggest sleeper, the first Berserker Kazan. Yeah, you guys have mentioned that a few times on stream, and
there was a demo for it, I think, or there is.
Yeah,
but it looks fine.
Yeah, we'll see if it can break into more of the mainstream. Mark Fleming, thank you for that too. Tomorrow they are having Pokemon Presents. Oh, they're doing a Pokemon thing tomorrow?
I hope they're doing Pokemon Wake Up. We have Pokemon Sleep. The sequels Wake Up. So,
dude, what if it's just a straight like copy paste of Pal World, but like objectively worse in every way?
With Splatoon guns instead of like real guns.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be funny.
And then Power World is gonna like patent guns, and then they're like, you cannot use that.
Dude, that whole Pal World seems like such a fever dream when you look back on last year. It's like, oh yeah, that game is insane. The fact that it exists is hilarious. Sumaya, thank you for that one. AC Shadows could have been a GOTY contender if it was a 5v5 hero shooter. So tragic. It's true. It could have been their Star Wars, Jor. Were they not aware? Did they not know?
I mean, I wanted like, we have now a Yasuke. What if they had Star Child as like the main character? That would have been so great.
They could have had Hot Sauce Guy. Instead of Yasuke. Imagine Hot Sauce Guy.
I think you said once to me that he had like this hot sauce fetish, and I watched all the trailers. I never made that realization that it was like that was his thing, that they really thought that was funny.
They like
That's crazy.
aggressively focus on it a few times. It's like,
Yeah.
huh, this is a direction to go. Interesting. John, thank you for the 5. Can you both give a 1 to 5, 1 through 5 combat / free roam rating right now for AC Shadows? Compare the feel to Ghost, Batman, and other high-end parry / attack games. So on a scale from 1 to 5, how would we rate?
We of course played a work in progress build.
Okay.
I do think, I do think those feelings can still, it can feel better when we play the full version. So I do think that's good to keep in mind. But
Yeah, I
I
thought.
get an idea.
Yeah, I think number scales are always freak me out. Because I found that they're just very, I don't know. They're overly simple, I think. Because nobody thinks about things in their life as like, yeah, that's a 7 out of 10. Most people are like, well, I
No.
liked this dinner, but it needed more salt. Like putting a number on it always feels weird to me. But if I had to put a number on it, like I thought the combat felt for Yasuke, because I think you have to break it down per character. For Yasuke, the melee combat felt good, not amazing, not bad. So like whatever that would be for your scoring system, if 3.5 is good, if 4 is good, I don't know, but whatever good would be. And then for Nawe, I thought the her move sets were way more fun and interesting. So for her, I'd probably give her 0.5 above whatever Yasuke's lands at.
Okay. Yeah, I totally, I'm kind of landing at this. I do think for me the Yasuke combat can go to 4 because I do think it has a lot more depth than the previous characters with the amount of combos you can do that we just cannot really figure out after having played a few hours.
Yeah, in a preview.
Because you just want to get through the demo and not. If you spend more time with it, you obviously will find new things because you can now hold, basically do a charged attack mid combo too. So I think there are going to be way more ways to play that character. We have not seen all the abilities yet. Gear has a huge impact, but I think in terms of feel, I was kind of surprised, especially compared to other pre-launch Assassin's Creed builds that we played. So I'm leaning. I think it could be. I think Ghost really nailed it. I don't think it will reach that level, but in Ghost you were also mostly fighting enemies that did not really have a lot of armor, and so the time to kill was really fast, and that was just super satisfying. Those brute enemies, it just all felt really, really good, especially on the lethal difficulty that they added later, where the time to kill was even shorter. So I don't think it will reach Ghost, but I do think because Shadows will have multiple weapons, I do think it will have other things that Ghost doesn't have. So it really depends on what you like. And Naue in particular plays completely different from a Jin in combat in particular. The Kusarigama, the chain, the ball of chain that also is a sickle, I think is a ton of fun to play with. So it has a lot of things going for it. But I would say the combat is surprisingly good, but we have to see more to kind of get like a final score. But I would say right now we're around the 3. And it's not near the Batman and Ghost levels yet, but I do think it can do other things that those games did not do in terms of amount of variety and impact of gear that could make it for some people a better system than that they saw in the other games, even though it might not be on the same level in terms of feel.
People forget, but Ghost of Tsushima was compared a lot at launch to Far Cry. They were like, ooh, it's Far Cry with swords. Sounds cool. And because it was, Far Cry doesn't have the same level of complexity or depth in the open world activities and things they try to shove into the world as AC. Because of that, they can kind of afford to put a lot more emphasis and focus on the combat, which for Ghost of Tsushima really helped it, in my opinion, at least. And so with AC, they're trying to do a lot more variety and have a lot more stuff all throughout a massive map. And sometimes that means that the gameplay and the combat specifically might be more restrained compared to the complexity and depth you could get with, Tsushima with stance changes constantly and all of that. So, but as George said, I mean, it's really tough to say until you get your hands on the final version, because this stuff is constantly changing. Something as simple as, a 75 millisecond increase on a parry timing window could be the difference between combat feeling fair and unfair. It's just little tweaks make a huge difference with this stuff.
Yeah, and that's why they took the extra time to kind of tweak it a lot. And what we played was a November build, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And we're now in March almost. So
and a couple of the people at the studio said that when we were there in January, they said, "Oh, the current build is way better." And
yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
I already thought it felt pretty good, but they're saying it feels way better.
Same.
So
I think you will be pleasantly surprised if you're expecting, something less than Ghost. I think it will have some things going for it that might make it more fun than Ghost for some people. And I see stealth in particular. Like, of course, there are way more stealth options in this game than a Ghost. So I think, Shadows will totally win in that department. And overall, we win as gamers. Like, we can get 2 great games in that setting. And I totally think Ghost of Yotei, with the amount of weapons they already showed, and I think the open world in Yotei will probably be more interesting. It's just a good time for if you like these types of games.
Here's a question for chat though: what are the odds that Ghost of Yotei also has constant fade to blacks? If they do, I'm gonna scream, because it's one of my pet peeves. I mentioned it in the critique. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it's like the least creative, most boring way to transition between two things, and it shouldn't bother me as much as it does. It bothers me when I see a play that does it, like, ooh, climactic scene, lights fade to black, lights fade back in. I'm like, go get out of here. I hate it. I can't stand it. But anyway, Ghost of Tsushima did it a lot.
Fallout did not have it, I think, and now Shadows does.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just I don't know. It bothers me.
Technical thing, I think.
It bothers me. Let's see. We can wrap up with this one from the Nerdy Giant. What are you and Jor currently playing, if you can share, that is? I mean, so Jor, other than the copy of AC Shadows you got on eBay, what have you been playing?
Monster Hunter. So I got an early code for that, and I'm having a blast with it. I think it's really a lot of fun. Playing on my Portal in the bathtub. Yeah, of course. We still have the handheld experience.
Jor chilling in the bathtub. Don't drop it.
No, I know. So far, that does not happen because, again, the game is pretty easy. So, but yeah, I think it's a good time. It just feels amazing to play. And it kind of feels, if you only played on handheld mode and then switch to the screen, it's like going from HD to 4K, It's like that. So I can recommend it to everyone. The game is awesome. I love the amount of monsters. I think the story campaign, sometimes skipping dialogue, I don't really care, but it is a nice way to basically it's a nice wrapping around the fact that you're basically playing a boss rush mode. So I do kind of like that. The weapons, the new stuff that they did with every weapon, other new elements. It just, for me, after, for example, having played a Kingdom Come, some other games where, I prefer the relax game where this Monster Hunter is, okay, I'm on my mount, I press up on the D-pad, the mount goes to the objective, I'm collecting some herbs, I'm doing this, I'm sharpening my weapon, I'm maybe looking around the bathtub, I'm chilling out. Oh, we're at the monster, get off my mount, swing my sword, and then I have to show that I'm a good player. After that though, I can just auto walk there. So it's really relaxing for me in that sense, and I do kind of like that after a Kingdom Come where the fall damage just kills you and then you did not forgot to save, and then the save is, and then that those games are. I get stressed out in those games.
It's because you're immersed
in those situations. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. No, I've been also playing Monster Hunter. I love me some Monster Hunter. I'm eagerly awaiting for when my buddies can hop on and play with me, because during the review period I've been just kind of rocking solo, but who knows, maybe I can hop on with Jor and we can grind out some dinos together. That could be fun.
I mean, I want to save that for another occasion later in the year.
Yeah, when we can be in the bathtub together.
I'm not a fan of the dinos. They have to be robot dinos, if you know what I mean.
Dude, I've told people when that game comes out, whether that's this year or next year, whatever it is, I was like, you better believe Jor and I are going to be doing a stream where we play it together. And I'm going to be trying to keep a straight face and not crack jokes. And Jor's going to be like, shut up, Luke. But hopefully it's really good. Hopefully it's just awesome and we genuinely have an awesome time. That's my desire. That's what I'm hoping for. There she is. There she is. Tag still on.
Oh my god, I have multiple of these.
It's because he's gonna return it.
Dude, you know this is gonna be worth so much money when the online game comes out.
Yeah, it'll be like, you know how people want to buy like pieces of like buildings that have collapsed, or like stones near like nuclear wastelands. Oh yeah, look at that! Wow.
The whole gang is here.
Jor and his Horizon gang. I've told people everybody needs to get them a man who loves them as much as Jor loves him some Aloy and Horizon. Jor and his Horizon.
I mean, next week everyone's like Split Fiction. Is that next week, by the way? I don't even know because I don't care. Because next week the Lego Horizon set will be here. Shell Walker, Farrell, Aloy, they can be yours.
Boom. For the low price of 3 installments of $99.99. Legos are crazy.
And Herman will help you.
He shows up randomly in the corner of your room. He just comes out.
Yeah.
Like, Horizon? Live service? Yeah. Horizon? Fair Games? Concord?
Did you know we have a Lego Horizon game as well?
Did you? I'm just like, and a VR game, if you're interested. We're going to turn it into a movie. Right?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be great. It's the movie. Yeah, no, I have low hopes for that, sadly. But
it almost certainly won't be a hilarious disaster that I will make lots of videos on. But you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You know, baby steps. Oh no, Jor froze again. Oh no. I don't know what is up with Discord right now, dude. As for me, I've been playing Monster Hunter, of course, and I've been playing something else. Yeah, George's still frozen. I've been playing something else that I can't really talk about yet, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. ... And no, it's not Assassin's Creed Shadows. Somebody in chat was like, or in the comment section came up to me and was like, Luke, why don't you just buy one of those early copies and then play it on stream or something for easy views? And I was like, bro, do you have any idea what you're deciding, like what you're talking about doing? Like, there is no way on planet Earth anybody that's trying to do this for a job would ever do that. Like, are you insane? It's like, no, you couldn't pay me to do that. Even if you're like, oh, a sponsor will pay you a lot. Like, no, you're talking about like permanently destroying your relationship with every company ever and playing an early version that's going to get DMs. Like, no, it's just insane. It's just insane. Jor is now just an empty chair. There he is. I don't know why, dude, but Discord has just had enough of this show. He has more. Oh man, that's amazing. I just have like Lego sets and then like random skulls and stuff, but I need more plushies. I think that's what I'm realizing.
They're the best.
I have an entire shelf that's just ancient Egypt themed. So I have the pyramid, and then there's little like stone pyramids over there next to the torch. So I've got that repping. The boom arm happens to cover it, so I'll have to get a new boom arm. But I've got Knifey from High on Life. Little animated poster back there hanging out. Yeah, it's not a random skull. I was trying to be cool for people. It's grandma. She hangs out with us. But anyway, do you have any closing thoughts before we close? We've got to read Sumaya's.
Yeah, let's do that. And then...
Yeah. In Ghost, this is from Sumaya, generous super chat. In Ghost, Jin was a samurai trying a bit of ninja stuff. So combat was good and stealth was passable. Seems like it's the opposite of Nawe, who is good at stealth but less effective at combat. You are absolutely correct. And that's why they have Yasuke.
I think it's weird. Sumaya did not crack a joke or made a stupid Yakuza remark or Dragon Ball. I think the account is hacked. This is not.
That's not Sumaya. This is a fake.
That's not Sumaya.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's basically a little inversion of it. I thought the coolest thing about Ghost of Tsushima was that they took this idea of starting as a samurai who is all about honor and a very particular way that you're supposed to go through conflict. That's very structured and everything. And then there's a quest where there's poison involved. I guess I'll avoid spoilers, but basically there's a point where Jin has to decide that it's more about the outcome than it is about the means of getting to the outcome. And it's a fascinating exploration of like betraying something that you and your people have held dear, but you have to betray that in order to survive. And I think that's a fascinating little thing to explore, not just through the story, but also through the gameplay itself. And then AC Shadows, I don't think we'll really explore much of that. Maybe they will, but I haven't seen any sign of that. I think it's more just like she's just not as good at melee combat. So that's that. And then Yasuke's just not that good at stealth. It's not that he's like morally opposed to it or anything.
I mean, he can like do. I do think, and I hope they still show that before launch, because we of course saw that at the studio that he can like still be capable in stealth with a bow. And Nawe, I do think, can have some cool combat builds. I think Nawe in the end will be the best all-around character.
Yeah,
but
I have no doubt that she'll be the not canon choice, but like the primary choice that like 80-90% of people are playing through most of the game with. So, dude, how are there more? How do you have even more little trinkets? You're like a gift store at the airport. It's crazy, dude.
But like you think my room is like clean. I got the clothes on the ground. It's like a freaking war zone with a ton
It's like walking through a ball pit of merch. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, any closing thoughts or words of inspiration?
I mean, we will have. Yeah, we will be entering March, where we will be able to discuss our thoughts on Shadows, hopefully before launch, which would be exciting. But yeah, it will be interesting times. I'm working on some fun stuff also for that launch, and we're doing some Monster Hunter stuff. So it's a good time. It's a good time. I'm gonna play with my Horizon toys, play with the Lego next week, and maybe I will show you the Lego set next week if you want.
I want to see it. I'll be here waiting.
Nice. And yeah, I think you get like an XP boost or like a loot boost for Horizon Online with the Lego set. Because remember, the loot is not free.
I wouldn't be surprised. And then they do the whole thing with like the Doritos, where you buy the Doritos, you put the code in, and then you can qualify to win $1 million or other like in-game skins.
Did you see that for Shadows? They're doing that for Shadows, but they already put the QR code on the image of the can, so you could already get the weapon without buying the beer.
Oops. It's
so weird.
That's the most Ubisoft thing I've ever heard of in my life, dude.
It's like, get the cans, get the weapon.
Here's a picture of the can you should buy.
With the QR code. People are scanning it. They're like, well, thanks for that.
That's so funny. That's a big dumb oopsie. That's funny. Well, anyway, much love, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching, of course, as always. And yeah.
Excuse me. I'm a sleepy boy. Yes. Have a good day, everybody. Much love. We'll see you soon, okay? Hugs and kisses.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.